To start our woodland men's hat, we're going to make a magic ring. Now, I admit that I'm not terrific at this because I don't use a magic ring very often. So I'm going to show you the way I do it, but if you have a better method, absolutely use it instead. All right, so we pull that through, take it off, and chain one. And in the ring, we're going to make 8 half double crochets. And this will be round 1. All right, so that should be 8. Let's count to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's our first one. Okay, so next thing we do is close the ring. So I pull on that original yarn end. When I've done that, I'm going to join, just checking again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to join it to that one so that we have 8 in the round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To start round 2, chain 1. That does not count as a stitch. And I'm going to work 2 half double crochets in the first stitch. This is an increase. And I'm going to work an increase in each stitch around. So 2 in the next stitch. Two in the next. And so on and so forth. So when I get to the end of the round, I will show you what to do there. Okay, so I'm at the end of round 2. I'm going to go ahead and join. Then I'm going to count to make sure that I have 16 in this round. And it's important that you keep counting because that will make sure that you have the right number of stitches per round. And I do. Okay, for round 3, chain 1, and I'm going to increase in the same stitch. So that's 2. But this time, in this round, I'm going to work just 1 in the next stitch, and I'm going to alternate around 2 in one stitch, 1 in the next, so that I'm increasing this round by 8. I'm at the end of round 3, so I'm going to join with a slip stitch in that first stitch. And before we go on to round 4, I want to just make sure that you count. There are 24 stitches. But before we go on to round 4, let me explain to you what we're doing. So this is the crown of the hat is a flat circle worked in joined rounds. Usually, if the increases are in the same place for every round, you'll get this spoke pattern out from the center. You'll start to see where those increases are. But we want the top of this hat to be completely smooth. So we're going to start offsetting those increases starting in round 4. That simply means that instead of starting this round with an increase like we did for rounds 1 through 2 and 3, we're going to work a single half double crochet first. So I'm going to chain one like I usually do. And in that same stitch, just work 1 half double crochet. Then I'm going to work the increase in that second stitch, 2 in that stitch. And for this round, we work a half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So our increase comes out correctly. And we're going to do that pattern all the way around. Increase, then work a half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So my next stitch would be 2 half double crochets, my increase. And then I work a half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And I'm going to do that all the way around. It doesn't end up coming out as evenly as it did before, so I will show you what we do at the end of round 4. I'm at the end of round 4, and I've worked a complete set of increase, half double crochet, half double crochet. And I only have 2 stitches left, but this works out perfectly. So I work an increase in that first of the 2 that are left. And I work just 1 half double crochet in that last stitch of the round, because remember, we started the round with just 1 half double crochet in the first stitch rather than 2. So I've actually completed my pattern of increase, half double crochet all the way around. So I'm going to join with a slip stitch. And before you go on, just count to be sure that you have 32 half double crochets in round 4. Now, follow the instructions for the rest of the crown for whatever size you've chosen. I've shown you how to work the increase in the first stitch, the same stitch as the chain, and I've shown you how to offset that with that increase with just 1 half double crochet in that same stitch, and then starting the increase sequence. It's all written in the instructions, whether you use the free pattern online or the premium pattern that you purchased. The links are in the description. So what I'm going to do is finish up my crown for the size that I've chosen, and I'll meet you back here to start the body of the hat. I'm at the end of the last round of the crown. Make sure that you check the size that you're making for the number of rounds that you're supposed to make for the crown for your size. But I'm at the end of that last round, and before I join with a slip stitch, because I'm going to be changing color, I'm going to do the join in the contrasting color instead. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, and pull that through both loops. That slip stitches to close. I may need to pull those stitches closed a little bit more because they will become loose until I weave them in. But for now, that should be fine. So to start the first round of the body, I'm going to chain 1. But instead of working that slip stitch in the same stitch as the chain, I'm going to work the first slip stitch in the next stitch. In the next stitch, I'm going to work a half double crochet. And all the way around, I'm just going to alternate slip stitch, half double crochet, until I get to the other end. Now, one thing a tip that I'd like to offer, the even moss stitch gets a little difficult to see because of the way the stitches fit together. It's difficult to count rounds, and it's difficult to see where the stitches lie. So what I like to do is go back and put a stitch marker in that very first slip stitch. So this is the slip stitch, this is the half double crochet, so on and so forth. That way I know what is the first stitch of the round, because when I come back around to finish round 1, it will be difficult to see where that stitch is. So make sure you put that stitch marker there, and then when you get to the next round, simply move it up once you've started that round. All right, I'm going to finish round 1, and I will meet you back at the end. Okay, I am at the end of round 1. I have one last half double crochet to work. So I'm going to work that in that stitch there. Then I need to join to the first stitch. So I'm going to have to remove my stitch marker to do that. So I make sure that I know where that stitch is, take the stitch marker out, and join that with a slip stitch. And round 1 is finished, and we've been working on the right side. One tip that I'd love to give you is that the number of rounds in the even moss stitch are really hard to count once you get started, because all of the beauty of the texture is that it's sort of a dense fabric with a lot of subtle texture, meaning you're not going to be able to tell where one round starts and the next one ends. So I recommend that you keep a piece of paper handy after you finish each round. So I've just finished round 1. Mark that down on a piece of paper and keep track, because trust me, you'll lose track pretty quickly. It's time to start round 2. So the first thing I do is chain 1 and turn. For round 2 and every round after this, I'm going to work the slip stitch, the first slip stitch, in the same stitch as the chain 1. Remember, in round 1, we worked it in the next stitch to get it started. In this round and every round after this, we're going to work the first slip stitch of the round in the same stitch as the chain 1, which is right here. So I work that slip stitch there. I work a half double crochet in the next stitch. And again, I'm just going to work this alternating pattern of slip stitch, half double crochet all the way around. So a couple of things to look for. First off, I need to put my stitch marker back in so I know exactly where that first stitch is. And you'll notice here, you see there's the chain 1 and there's the slip stitch. So because I'm working in joined rounds, you're going to be able to tell pretty easily where that is. Still, use a stitch marker and secure it to show where that first stitch is. The second thing is, notice how you have a stitch and then what looks like a bar, a diagonal bar, a stitch, a diagonal bar. That's your cue. In each stitch, I'm going to work a slip stitch. In each stitch with a bar, a diagonal bar, I work a half double crochet, so that if you lose track, instead of ripping everything back and doing a frog, know that this is going to be a slip stitch. This is going to be a half double crochet. So essentially what you're doing is you're working a slip stitch in every slip stitch from the round before, and a half double crochet in every half double crochet from the round before. All right, I'm going to work around round 2, and I will meet you at the end to show you how to join and how to move on to the rest of the hat. I'm at the end of round 2 of the body, and I wanted to work the last couple of stitches just to show you, just to reinforce what I said at the beginning of the round. So I have 2 stitches left. That means I have a slip stitch and a half double crochet. So remember, what looks like a single stitch is where I put the slip stitch, and where it looks like it has a diagonal bar underneath the top loop there, I work the half double crochet. Every round of the body ends with a half double crochet, just like I did. And remember, this is the first stitch. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker. and join with a slip stitch in that first stitch, like so. Okay, that is it. So I'm currently on the wrong side, you can see, because that's where my yarn ends are. Every even numbered round in the body of the hat is a wrong side row. Every uneven, every odd number round in the body of the hat is a right side round. Okay, so what I do, we're just going to repeat that all the way through the hat till you've completed 24 rounds, as the pattern says. The color changes are listed in the pattern. You'll see them here. So if I'm working from the top down, I would have 8 rounds of contrasting color, 4, 2, and then the rest in the main color. So instead of working the entire hat, I'm just going to show you how to do the 2 rounds of edging right here. And you can simply follow the instructions in the pattern to get to the end of the body, the round 24. Okay, where I start the edging, I'm actually using the main color. So I'm going to slip stitch with that color. Slip stitch to join, because I want that color change to be hidden. All right, so I turn at the end of round 24, and I'm simply going to chain and then half double crochet in the same stitch, and I'm going to half double crochet in every stitch around, like so. Now, if you want, you can put a stitch marker in that first stitch, but I think it's going to be pretty easy to tell where that is, so we'll just leave it alone. But we're going to half double crochet in each stitch around. Remember, the top loop is facing away from you, so be careful not to catch an extra loop when you insert your hook. We don't want to catch that loop there. We want to just work under the top loop. All right, I'm going to finish that first round of edging, and I'll meet you back at the end where we join to do the second round. I'm at the end of round 1 of the edging. I've done half double crochets in every stitch around. The right side of the hat is still facing me. I'm going to join with a slip stitch in that first stitch to complete the round. Now, round 2 of the edging is just single crochets, but instead of starting with a chain 1, I'm going to eliminate that, and I'm simply going to single crochet in the same stitch as the loop, which is here. So no chain, just a single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet in every stitch around. I would highly recommend that, because I didn't use a chain at the beginning, that you place a stitch marker there so that you can see where that first stitch is, because sometimes it's a little hard to see. All right, I'm going to proceed around the hat for round 2, single crocheting in every stitch, and then I'll meet you at the end to show you how to finish off the hat. I'm at the end of round 2 of the edging, and all I have to do is join. So I'm going to show you how I do an invisible join to create a nice, even, flawless edge at the end of the hat. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, and I go ahead and I join with a slip stitch. All right, so that's all I need my crochet hook for. I'm going to pull that loop out. And I'm going to cut the yarn long enough so that I have enough left to thread onto my tapestry needle. So Just cut that right there. To do the invisible join, I'm going to pull that length of yarn back through the loop so I just have one piece of yarn, and I'm going to thread that onto my needle. All right, so the first thing I do is this loop here needs to be the same size as all of the other loops around it, and it's pulled a little bit tight as I've been pulling this piece of yarn out. So I'm just going to pull it out just a little bit. It's okay if I go a little bit too far because I can adjust it once I start to work this invisible join. So I pull that out a little bit, and to see if it really does fit, I pull it over this way, and it does. So that's just about the right length. All right, so to invisibly join, I'm going to skip this stitch and insert my needle under the top loops of the next stitch. Pull it through so that that's laying on top of the stitch that we skipped. I'm going to take that and go back through the center of the original loop. And what you'll see is that I formed a loop sitting on top of the stitch that I skipped. Now it's a little bit wonky, so sometimes I just have to adjust it a little bit so that it looks right and matches all of the other loops along the edge. But you can see now that I've adjusted it, it fits in with the texture of the rest of the loops and makes it invisible. After that, I'm going to securely weave in my end like so, which you can do with the other ends. So on and so forth. All right, so that's the way to invisible join, and what you get is a completely even edge all the way around your hat. So if I look at my hat right side up, crown, excuse me, crown in the main color, then I do a contrasting color, main color, contrasting color, main color, finishing off with my edging. You can extend that edging a little bit if you want, just simply repeat round 2 as many times as you like. And you can work the hat in one color if you like. But that is how to crochet the Woodland men's hat.